For many years, Vault Hunters have wondered, what makes Borderlands 2 such a timeless masterpiece? Is it the multitude of guns? Is it the fun characters? Is it all the things you can do that you probably shouldn't be able to? No. There is one man in the Borderlands universe that has had this figured out for years, and his answer? Explosions. Can you beat Borderlands 2 using only Torgue gear? The rules for this run are pretty much as you would think. I can only use Torgue branded items in every single item slot. That means weapons, shields, class mods, etc. That being said, as all artifacts are manufactured by Iridian, we will be using the Vault Hunter relic as a placeholder until we can obtain a Torgue Allegiance relic, as it pretty much fits the idea of the run. With that being said, I unfortunately let myself be talked into spinning which character I play by my Twitch chat, and unfortunately for me, I ended up with a character that I both know very little about and doesn't mesh well with any of the weapon types or elemental damage that we're going to be able to deal. Fantastic! Let's see how this goes. Starting off strong by making my Zero the most flamboyant monstrosity I can in honor of Torgue, we go through the normal routine at the start, following Claptrap to his hut. That being said, we are going to do the classic hop over to Digistruck Peak and grab a couple of extra levels, because until I get to where Flint's men ambush the town that Hammerlock is staying in, I don't even have a chance to see any Torgue weapons, so we're going melee only. And for the record, I do know I could have gone to the Commander Lilith DLC and farmed some stuff out of the lockers there at level 7, but I didn't want to overpower myself that much, and I wanted to make things still stay a little bit challenging throughout the run. So you'll notice that while I might be a couple levels ahead of the curve at any given time, I never go more than like 2 or so above the recommended level. Heading up towards Knuckle Dragger, they prove what is going to be the biggest challenge in this run in the fact that the playstyle I have and the gear I have available to me is not always going to be the best or the most conducive of killing enemies. In other words, I'm going to talk shit and I am going to get hit. As another side note, you may see me pick up gear and other equipment along the way. I will not be using it if it is not Torgue brand, but I will still be grabbing it to sell, as you never know when a good Torgue is going to show up in a vending machine. Luck is a mysterious thing, though, because as I jump down into Hammerlock's village and start punching the crap out of Bullymong's, fully prepared to do so for the rest of the next area until I can get to a vending machine that sells a Torgue weapon, a cannon pops out of a Bullymong pile of all places, and I accidentally pick it up immediately. That being said, it's usable. So, as a wise man used to say, finally, the real game can begin. Things go smoothly through rescuing Hammerlock and clearing out the town of the rest of the Bullymongs, or rather, as smoothly as they can in a restricted run such as this. After grabbing the bad-haired egg quest from Hammerlock, we are actually going to turn it into Claptrap for once. While normally I would turn it into Hammerlock to get his Jacob Sniper, Claptrap offers a Torgue shotgun every time you turn it in, which is a very powerful tool, especially this early into normal mode. Immediately after that, we are going over to the other side of the southern shelf and doing the mission Symbiosis for Hammerlock. The enemy at the end of this mission, Midgemong, actually has a 10% chance to drop the Kerblaster, a Torgue assault rifle, and one that we're going to need if we're going to be able to keep pace with any of the enemies around us. Because remember, Torgue shields cannot spawn in until we reach Sanctuary, so we're going to need damage if we don't have protection. And this early into the game, the Kerblaster definitely knows how to do damage. Continuing on with our gear hunt, we head on down through the main story to face Boom and Boom, the dynamic duo that can drop us the bonus package, the first Torgue grenade that we can use on this run. At the same time, with it being 2 bosses that are quite easy to kill, it's also a great way to stay just ahead of the experience curve and farm them for just a small amount of time. After obtaining a pocket nuke in grenade form, we chase after Claptrap and begin the assault on Captain Flint's ship, looking to get towards Sanctuary as quickly as we possibly can. Early on, one of our only concerns is going to be ammo, as the Kerblaster is a hungry little thing, and the bonus package, while extremely powerful, is limited by the fact that we only have 3 grenades, and we still don't have a shield available. And so we reach the first roadblock of the run, Captain Flint. His flame immunity usually poses a bit of a problem during challenge runs, but given the fact that we're just dealing universal splash explosive damage, he doesn't take long to fall and let us push that much closer towards Sanctuary. After a hop, a skip, some gratuitous violence, Grand Theft Auto, going the wrong way for a little while, and then getting vengeance for a fallen comrade, we do eventually make it into the city of Sanctuary, where, after being offered a disappointing bit of gear from the front gate, I am finally able to get a shield. Finally, the little bits inside me can stay inside me. It's not like Zero has much going on in there anyway, what with his glass cannon builds. After liberating Scooter of his iridium reserves, we go upgrade our ammo capacity, namely the assault rifle and grenade portions of it, and finish a few side missions in town. After that, we're heading back towards Three Horns Valley because we have another farm available to us. I want the Unkempt Herald. Unfortunately, chat has other plans for me. Because, unfortunately, I enabled channel point redemptions for this run on Twitch, and they took the liberty of using the one that makes me drop my next legendary, or remove one item from my backpack. Let's just say they took a little bit of liberty in using it. But before chat can put their two brain cells together and realize that they can make me drop my items, I do manage to get an Unkempt Herald, and I use it to absolutely trivialize the Assassinate the Assassin missions. While turning my enemies into a fine red mist, I push through the main story, heading through Frostburn Canyon and meeting up with Lilith. After giving Lilith her iridium fix like the junkie she is, I defend her lair and get a class mod. Unfortunately, it's at that point I realize there are no Torgue manufactured class mods, which means I'm going in with just the base skill points and nothing else for the entirety of this run. Pitying me, the game does give me a red chest that contains only Torgue items, so I at least have that going for me. Although it's just a precursor of what's to come in the future. On that note, I go back and pick up the In Memoriam side quest, which incidentally has the fastball grenade, which is one of the most powerful grenades in the game. I know I can't use it this run, so, I'm not expecting to farm it or anything like that, because obviously I can't use it, so it dropping would be kind of a... You've got to be kidding me. After getting rejected by Bloodshot Stronghold harder than your best friend's sister who you totally didn't have a crush on growing up, Becky, please call me back, we head on over to Ellie to get some parts to make ourselves a real bandit machine. 5 broken bandit technicals later and a whole lot of duct tape, we have ourselves our own bandit technical, and we head on back over, kick down the front door, and face off with Badmaw. After making short work of him, I head inside, and unfortunately, this is the point at which chat realized they could make me drop my weapons. So there goes my Unkempt Herald, and spoiler alert, there goes about 5 more after they realized they could make me drop my next legendary, and decided to chain that redemption for the next half an hour. After vowing to triple the cost of both of those redemptions before I start streaming again, I push through Bloodshot Stronghold with a nice Torgue shotgun and a flat-off-barreled spinning gun I found a little bit earlier. These 2 weapons make the trip, while still slightly painful, at least manageable. Besides cosplaying that one crawler you made to be able to do the zombies Easter egg without interruption, we managed to make it through this area without too much of an issue. Now, unlike that zombie, we actually do get to see the outside after Roland gets taken away. And it's after pushing through this assault on the dam that I realized something awful. Warden, like all constructors, is greatly resistant to grenade splash damage, or just splash damage in general, meaning Torgue weapons do almost nothing to him. Following a bit of contemplation during my resurrection after falling to the hands of Warden, we managed to take him down and then defend Roland against the rest of the onslaught of robots. Truth be told, I was about 30 seconds away from him being carried away to the Friendship Gulag. But now that Roland's safe and secure, there's only one way to celebrate, and that's with a little bit of gameplay. The fact that I actually got a new Torgue pistol that's better than my previous one is just an added benefit. After finishing our gear up, we go back to Bloodshot Stronghold to clear out the Splinter Group for some easy experience. I reawaken the curse of TV, switch, lever, which has been ingrained in my brain for the last 12 years playing this game, and finally wrap up a couple more side quests to make sure we're ahead of the curve for experience once again. Not having any fire weapons available to me, I use the environment to my advantage to ignite the Varkets needed, meet up with Mordecai, and have to revive myself from the ground because he can't be bothered to do it from his tower. Heading on over, we meet up with Tiny Tina, the one child I don't wish to punt into orbit on a daily basis. There's something about her innocent love of explosives and viscera that gives me hope for the next generation. Not questioning why we're giving the underage child massive explosives, we clear out yet another camp in search for the C4 that she needs to add to her missiles. We absolutely do not underestimate a Goliath that puts us into the ground for the next death of the run. We do manage to grab both the explosives for Tina, as well as a side mission that has a chance to give us a Torgue weapon of either an assault rifle or a shotgun when we finish it. After following through on the particularly spicy recipe from Tina's Anarchist Cookbook, the bot bashing continues as we head over to Wilhelm, who is the source of our next targeted farm, the Rolling Thunder Grenade mod. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Wilhelm wants to share today, as it takes me around 25 kills before I get one Rolling Thunder Grenade mod. But taking the extra levels and the blue Torgue shotgun I picked up along the way as the presents I deserve for my hard work, we head back to Sanctuary and almost go to turn the power core back in. But before the next story push, I realize I'm going to need to get myself something for second wins coming up in the future, so we head on over to the Dust and farm the Black Queen, for she has our next unique item from Torgue, the Nukem rocket launcher. If you, like me, have been playing a lot of Helldivers recently, the Nukem is the equivalent of throwing a 500 kg bomb on top of something and saying, go, do a crime. Jumping back over to Sanctuary, we swap out that power core we got from Wilhelm, and we see that Handsome Jack is doing his own Torgue Allegiance run as he bombs an innocent city. I guess he's been playing a lot of Helldivers too as well. In any case, as Lilith raises 1/10 the pain men feel when they have a cold, we put on our snow boots and head on over to the fridge. Fink's Slaughterhouse sure does exist as we clear it out for some free experience. Nothing too much happened, but I did not finish off all the waves as the level scaling caught up with me rather fast. Little tip for you, if you don't like having to go around because the exploder blows up the console in the Highlands, just blow him up before he blows up the console. After praying to the god that is constructor explosive damage and having my prayers be unanswered, we push back and absolutely maul the Ravenous Thresher. The residents of Overlook were reminded what the outdoors look like, as approximately 42 suns were dropped outside their buildings during the defense and launch of the fast travel station back to Sanctuary. Clearing through the map where nothing bad happens, and surely there won't be emotional trauma at the end of this area, we go through the usual song and dance. Enemies that drop like flies, enemies that go invisible and you just don't want to bother with, and loot enemies that drop nothing like Handsome Jack is personally paying them to screw me over. And finally, after our long walk, we get to the emotional trauma fight, Bloodwing. And a little fun fact I learned while making this video is that Bloodwing is part of a species that starts out male and then changes to female later in their life. Which is the reason why all of the Vault Hunters refer to Bloodwing as he for the first game, but she for second and onward. After witnessing a traumatic event that probably isn't the reason why I have such a hard time seeing when animals are hurt in real life to this day, we head back to Sanctuary. It was at this point that chat so graciously reminded me that I had a new unique shield I could pick up if I did the Overlooked line of missions. Upon finishing the last in the series, I would pick up the unique Torgue shield, the Deadly Bloom, which is only one of, I think, 2 or 3 unique shields, including all of the DLC. In particular, the Deadly Bloom is going to be very valuable for this run because it not only does the explosive nova when the shield breaks, but it also does a second one when your health depletes, meaning if enemies are surrounding me, I get 2 chances to get a free get-out-of-jail-free card. Unfortunately, enemies at range are still going to be a problem, even as I peek my head into the Torgue DLC. After a lucky vendor grab for a new Merv grenade as I enter into the arena, we write down that we need to ask Torgue what he's been feeding his engineers as this one learns how to fly. But yada yada yada, kill some more bikers, get through the arena, and then push on through the beatdown. Which, unfortunately, at the end of, I am reminded by a stark fact. Just like constructors, Pyro Pete is insanely resistant to explosives, at least while his shield is up, which is not very conducive to what I'm doing. Well, good thing the good old carpet mom strategy still applies. After rescuing the ever-lovely Miss Moxie, we continue on, do a couple of side missions for Tiny Tina, and get ourselves the Boom Puppy, a unique Torgue assault rifle with the effect that the grenades, if fired at a distance, will skip along the ground, repeatedly exploding, not unlike the Rolling Thunder grenade, but in assault rifle form. Feeling more armed and dangerous than a Winter Soldier during the launch of Marvel Rivals, we head back towards the main story and go to Thousand Cuts, for we have a message to deliver, and hopefully, unlike the last game where I was a courier, I don't get shot in the head for my troubles. After proving to the sentient slab of meat that I am friend and not food, we decide to take a step outside together, and much like my actual fears in real life, we are immediately jumped, assaulted, and put into the ground as quickly as possible. However, fueled by my social fears that I'll never be good enough and that if I don't put in enough effort, my friends will leave me, we catch up with Brick and quickly solve the problem with the only way I know how: explosions. Cashing in on a level up while I steal a shield from Roland, which I am sure will have no consequences down the line. And it's at this point I realized that despite Sanctuary already being in the air, I've never actually gone down to talk to Marcus on this run. It's at that point my chat redemptions come back to haunt me once again as I am forced to farm a specific legendary for chat. They chose the Nukem, and it took me an hour and 20 minutes to get a single drop, which is kind of helpful because I did need a new one with the level falling off, but oh my god, an hour and a half to get a single drop. But with that in hand, we head on down to Caustic Cavern to take out a few more side missions to make sure we're ahead of the experience curve. And unfortunately, Blue does not play well with explosives and having to be in melee range most of the time. After doing a little bit of mining off stream, we gather the last of the side missions we'll want to do on the way and head on over to Opportunity. We're taking the fight to Jack's doorstep. During the recording, I for some reason put a note here saying drop a constructor on Handsome Jack's head next time I see him, but I don't know what that's about. I am once again reminded that I will never understand what modern art is all about. And Moxie has us show off the highlights of doing a Torgue only run by blowing up a dam. I get Zero to play a rousing game of identity theft by stealing the pocket watch from Jack's body double, who's oddly resistant to explosives. And I do a rousing bit of read-only farming for our first relic that we can actually use in a Torgue Allegiance run. By the way, I went back through the footage. This took me 87 runs to actually get any Torgue Allegiance run for, so we're taking the first one I found. A Torgue item in every slot finally achieved, we head up the mountain to assault the bunker with the help of Brick's crew, and it goes just about as well as you could expect. Yeah, I just don't know what it is. For some reason, I have constructor equals and then a frowny face on here. I'm going to have to really leave better notes when I'm doing my stream edits. But after a long and arduous climb up the mountain, we do make it to the top of the bunker and start taking out its automated defenses in the form of the flat cannons. A dozen of those go down, and the moment I've been waiting for finally arrives. Finally, after playing as Zero for this entire run, I have something that perfectly counters a boss. Having a strategy to fight a boss is knowledge, and knowledge is half the battle. But if G.I. Joe taught me anything, it's that the other half is violence. For anyone who doesn't know what just happened, Zero has a skill called Bore, which lets you fire through more than one enemy at once to multiply the damage to the second, third, fourth, etc. targets. However, Bunker is a little weird in the fact that he has multiple areas he can be hit that overlap. If you manage to shoot the sweet spot where those bubbles overlap, it'll think it's shooting through an infinite number of enemies and stack that damage exponentially, basically one-shotting them. After being taunted by finding an Allegiance relic that we can't even use after all that farming earlier, we say hi to Terramorphous before hopping down and entering Control Core Angel proper. Nothing ever happens in Control Core Angel. Although I skip the consequences of my actions by save quitting so Roland's shield being missing doesn't come back to bite me. After that, I let a group of scavengers know that if their money ever goes missing, they should maybe check the guy who has a giant money bag on his back. Going back up the hill, we fight Bunker quite a few more times to get some more levels and gear until he decides he must go. His planet needs him. But hey, after one more run before I headed out, at least I got this very nice casual stalker on the way out. Heading off to the Iridium Blight, we decide some domestic terrorism is in order, as we then have to head over to Sawtooth Cauldron in order to steal a metric buttload of explosives. Fun fact for you Vault Hunters, don't enter Sawtooth Cauldron in the back of a bandit tactical, because the game kind of forgets where you are, and yeah, it casts Perish upon you. After taking out some ambush commanders with absolutely no problems and no reason for me to get frustrated because my cat jumped on my lap in the middle of me fighting these enemies, we head up to lure out Mortar by taking out his prize buzzard Boombringer until God himself strikes me down and my power goes out. Restarting again the next day, I am smart enough this time to pick up and complete a side mission for Marcus that will allow us to get one of the other unique Torgue items on this run. It is the Assault Rifle, Blue Rarity Unique, the Evil Smasher, which has a chance every time you reload it to have a much larger mag and do a lot more damage. Second time's the charm, however, as we do manage to bring down the Boombringer, kill Mortar on the way up, and take down all of its buzzards. And with a quick few flares, we are ready to head on over to the Arid Nexus. I can't wait to get a B sheet. Oh, wait, no, I can't. While passing on the bad news about Roland's death, we get the rare opportunity to pay a tribute to a fallen Vault Hunter. Rest in peace, Michael. Little fun fact for you as we hunt down where the warrior is actually located. If you drive near the pipe you need to burst open instead of jumping into it, as long as you're in a bandit technical, hitboxes are wonky, man. If you know this game as well as I do and have actually been paying attention to what's coming next, you may have realized before I did that, oh no, Saturn is coming next. And just like Constructors, he has a massive resistance to explosive damage and no crit point. Oh, this surely can't go wrong for me. But after applying some new cheese to Saturn by shooting the top of him here, we head up to the top and are running into the same problem again when a constructor spawns in and blocks my way. This time, however, I went down. But after solving my problems by ignoring them just like I do in real life, we get the location of the warrior and we can make our final push through the hero's pass. It is at this point in the run I want to point out I have picked up the kunai, which allow me to mark enemies with slag and other elemental damage, as well as the fact that I have death mark, meaning I can melee enemies and apply 80% more damage to them from all sources. At this point, with a solid Torgue build and the options I have at my disposal, the bots outside of Heroes Pass are almost nothing to deal with. Honestly, the build has started to feel pretty good. Ignore me on my hands and knees. After accidentally going into the Hero's Pass just a little too quickly and being forced to turn around and listen to Claptrap's speech again, we are able to actually start pushing forward towards the main boss. Be they man or machine, all fall before zero at this point. Between the massive Merv grenade damage I'm able to do, my rifles actually being somewhat decent at range, my shotgun as always being able to power through things, the nukem just doing nukem things. Honestly, we are in a fantastic place, not to mention I finally have access to slag, giving us double damage on anything it covers. That being said, however, I'm still not going to want to fight the badass constructor at the end of this area, so I do the infamous grenade skip here so that it doesn't spawn. I'm not dealing with 85 or 90% splash grenade damage reduction on another constructor. And no matter how prepared we think we are, I do take the time to farm the red chest that's just outside of Heroes Pass and manage to pick up a rather good upgrade for my launcher at this point. And it's at that point the curse of the Allegiance run kicks in, and I get myself a World Drop Sledge's shotgun out of the chest. Which is really funny because, side note, anecdotally, the person that's been in the call with me this whole time during my stream took 45 attempts to try to get this, farming it from its intended source. Here's a shout out for you, Penguin. The game immediately making fun of him for it by putting it on the very next loading screen. But emotional damage in tow, it is now time to finally go after the man of the hour, Handsome Jack. And guess what? Out of all things in this game I didn't expect to have explosive resistance, Handsome Jack himself was not one that was on my goddamn list. Good thing it only seems to apply to a shield itself. That being said, it's time to tussle with the final boss of the game, the Warrior, who actually happens to have our last targeted farm. It is the Flacker, a Torgue shotgun which has the unique ability of firing airburst explosives in front of it in a very short range. Thankfully, with all the prep we've done and the gear we've acquired along the way, the Warrior does not present too much of a challenge. It does take a bit just because explosive damage isn't overly effective on him and the constant in and out of the lava, but in the end we were able to slay him and we get, yeah, just a leech, nothing special, so we don't get the Flacker on this one, but oh well. But with all that said and done, all that's left to do is kill Handsome Jack with my deception. And with that, we have proven you can, in fact, beat Borderlands 2 using only Torgue gear and weapons. But with all that being said and done, I want to thank you all for stopping by for my first fully edited challenge run. It was a lot of fun to do, and I have a few shout outs for the people who have helped me along the way. Firstly, a shout out to my nephew, Devereaux6565, as his love for the Borderlands series has kept me going and helped me rediscover some things that I forgot I loved along the way. Secondly, I want to give a shout out to Penguin Master. He has been my co-host during the streams of which I've recorded all of this live, and him discovering Borderlands for the first time has been a treat to go through, just seeing it be rediscovered through the eyes of someone new. Up next would be Fedzilla or FedZLA, as his content creation and us both having created content on TikTok that has overlapped with each other has really given me that creative push to make fully fledged edits and challenge runs. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to anyone who's made it this far into the video. This is my first fully edited challenge run, so if there's anything you think I can add to or change going forward, please let me know. But in the meantime, take care of each other in the Borderlands, guys, and I will see you next week for the release of Borderlands 4. Take care, everybody.